Now, there's going to be a big stress for the American democracy. Donald Trump is out of White House, but Trumpism is here to stay, and the GOP, the Congress, and the nation as a whole should deal with the kind of Trumpism that was created in the last 4 years in America. Now, democracy is definitely deep rooted in America since its independence, but this democracy needs constant nurturing and protection, or else it might lead to populism and mobocracy. Now, why are we talking about mobocracy? On Jan 6th, we saw there was a huge amount of mob that came in front of US Capitol Hill, and finally some people rammed inside and created ruckus, right? So this, even though there is democracy, it needs some amount of nurturing and protection so that it doesn't lead to these kind of scenarios. Now, it was definitely a polarizing election with the highest turnout since 1900s, with close to 67% people who came out to vote for Biden and Trump. Biden managed to get close to 81 million votes and Trump managed to get close to 74 million votes. This has been the highest turnout since 1900, believe me or not. Joe Biden won close to 509 counties, which contribute 70% of GDP, and Trump won 2,547 counties, which contributes the rest, that is just 30%, which clearly shows that the majority of the country who are worried about the progress of America have actually voted to Joe Biden. Now, after Trump lost the election, he did not make a concession speech, and he did not even refer to Joe Biden, and he just called it as new administration, which is going to take shape in America. And his tweets have led to the darkest day of democracy, like we said or spoke about Jan 6, 2020. Now, he's the first president to be impeached twice. Now, the impeachment process is on, but the GOP challenge, the grand old party's challenge, would be how do we reject Trump and how do we reject Trumpism while retaining the Trump supporters, because they are people who believe in Republican values. Now, they're also planning to introduce 14th Amendment. The Congress is also planning to introduce 14th Amendment, which actually bars Trump from taking office again in 2024 or run for any federal office, which makes him to be a non-politician for the rest of his life, right? So populism and social media has created this kind of a scenario that we are facing in America today. Twitter, Facebook, Apple, and Google have actually tried to remove Trump's accounts and also have been trying to remove the right-leaning apps. This clearly shows that free speech and has become the monopoly of social media platforms these days. Now, coming to democracy, the famous Turkish writer Esi Temel Kuran in 2019 wrote a book called How Do We Lose a Country? He says that democracy descends to populism, majoritarianism, and authoritarianism. And this in turn leads to delegitimization of opposition, where the leader claims that he represents the real people of the land, which also can also be called as sons of soil. The political course completely shifts. Secular liberals are called secular libtards, and facts are questions. Alt reality takes into shape and fires up the believers, and the social media becomes a tool of a massive manipulation that carries out across the country. So this is how a democracy would descend to such low, leaving out a majority of the people of the country and just concentrating on few set of people who are beneficial to the leaders. And this should not happen, and that's why we need to nurture and also protect democracy as and when it falls into a trap, right? Thank you so much for being in this video. I hope you had a fantastic time. Welcome.